Hello. I just want to let you guys know that I am so impressed. I logged in this afternoon, sort of mid afternoon, a couple of hours ago, just to check whether I scheduled this for the right time, and people were already waiting for this stream to start. I am very impressed. There's somebody out there who's really dedicated. So thank you very much. And I know, hey Mike, I know that we skipped the last week or something like that. And we haven't done an afternoon one for quite some time. But this is me catching up. I can't remember where I skipped it last time, or somebody was coming to the house. So we're doing it this week instead. And I hope you had a good week and looking forward to the weekend as much as I am. I've had I wouldn't say a tough week, but a week with lots of work. I worked all week on something that's incredibly boring, but necessary. And, sometimes you just gotta do the things that are boring, but necessary. And I will tell you all about it so you can be just as bored as I am. I will also tell you about some more exciting things. We already have questions. We have like 3 submitted questions. One I didn't really understand. I think it's more detailed. I need to understand it. And one is from Greg, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure I really understand the question. Let me just have a look here again and see if there's an update from him. No, okay, so I might answer that if I run out of things to talk about. I might answer that question and just build a little demo of something. It's good to have a little demo of something. And then I have another request here already from Jose about can you show examples of tabulator and tabulator pivot views, and is there a way to have a log for all the changes in some tables? So we got a lot to talk about here, and if you have any other questions, then by all means stop me. I'm gonna try and not spend too much time talking about these changes, these new stuff we've been working on, and then try and get to the questions that people have submitted, and any questions that come up during the next hour or so. Okay, so what have we been working on? First, I'm going to talk about 2 exciting things that is sort of, should get, everyone excited and sort of very trendy. And then I'm going to talk about this incredibly boring thing that I spent all week working on, but it's very necessary. Okay, so the first exciting thing that we're going to talk about is React. You may know React. You probably do. You've probably heard about it. It's a front-end framework where you write your components in something that looks a bit like HTML, and you write with some hooks, and it's all very nice, and it's simple to use if you're coding. And key thing is that for us, a key motivating factor. Well, first of all, it's something that a lot of beginners are using. It's like if you don't have any particular preferences, then it's sort of typically the front end framework you get started with, and it gives you full control. And so there's just some cases when I think it would be good to have that in Saltcorn, and so we can, so people can build custom components. So what we've been working on, actually I haven't been doing any of this work. Christian Hugo has been doing all of it, and it's looking good. We got the basics nailed, the basic mechanisms. There's still some of the innards that need tweaking, and then we just need a good interface, which I think is on the way. I won't be able to show you the final interface, but I will be able to show it working, because I just saw it working 5 minutes ago on my screen, which probably means that it won't work now. But let's see what this does. Okay, so first of all, you need some files. You need your code. So right, we are now no longer in no code land. We are now in coding land. So if you don't like code, I'm with you. Actually, I'm not. I really like coding. But, we are building this tool for people who aren't coders. But this is, we're running code now. Okay, so this is a way to build super flexible views that you need to do something very bespoke, very unique that you can't do with Saltcorn point and click. It's kind of like an escape vent, and the idea is that we can also get AI to write it for us, although we're not quite there yet. So here's our code file. We've dropped it in the Saltcorn folder here. I have it here in a folder called React, and here's my file. Christian wrote this. I think what we'll do is we'll have a little thing where you can actually edit here. So we open up an editor of this file. So there's like an option here of opening up an editor. That would be really nice, I think. But for now, I have to just edit this some other way. Like it's on my, I have an editor and I can edit it. But this is what it looks like. And those of you who have done React before will recognize this. It's just, this is what a React component looks like. We're exporting it by default. There'll be some more. There is actually already documentation about this. Let's get you. Let's get this up on the screen. Here we go. So Christian wrote a nice documentation here, all about how to get started and the stuff you can do, and also what you always need. Examples, lots of different examples, and I'm going to show you one of these right now. So these each have a sort of app file, and that's the one we're looking at now, right? So I just copied one of these to my folders here, and look, you've got this is, as I said, this is React. You've got all your HTML down here. This is it's quite a lot of code here, but it's mostly HTML. It's mostly just looping over some rows, displaying some data, and then, as we'll see in a second, there's a pop-up as well. So there's quite a lot of functionality here as well. Okay, so you've got this file in a folder somewhere on your local, either in somewhere on your hard drive or somewhere in the Saltcorn file store, which is also on your hard drive. It's just a special folder in your hard drive that Saltcorn knows about. Okay, so that's the first thing. We got that file. Then you got to install the module, and I have it here. It's not available yet. This is a preview. We're not done yet, but eventually you'll have it here as a module, and you will configure the module store here. Now, there are a couple of options. I'm not sure we need all these options, but we definitely need some of them. I think I showed this a little bit last time. So you choose where your code comes from, and this can either come from GitHub, a folder, which is what I have. I have the Saltcorn folder, and then you choose, and the other option is just local, which is just another drive somewhere on your folder somewhere on your hard drive, on the machine that Saltcorn is running on. And then you choose. So I've chosen Saltcorn folder. Then I chose you have to choose which folder you're in. So here I chose that React folder, and then you have to choose production or development. And development gives you basically gives you nicer error messages, but gives you a larger what's called a bundle. It gives you a slower page load and more assets to transfer. And there's some options here. Build your own bundle, that you can basically skip a lot of stuff here, but we won't do that here. So you can basically supply sort of a finished file, which gives you a lot of flexibility. But here we're just going to do the simple thing, and then you press build, right? So I've pointed to that folder in my Saltcorn file store, and now I just press build. And it built. So now this is where things. So now it's built a view, and we're just changing this right now, so you can have multiple outputs from one bundle, but for the moment you only get one. And so here's what it looks like. Here's my React. So this is a view. It's a view of the type React. It's chosen on a table. It doesn't have to be on a table, but this one is on a table. And it doesn't have any configuration right now. We're changing that, so you can have different views, can have different React components running. So you can have like multiple React views. For the moment, you just get one, which is the one that's exported by that app file. And this is what it looks like. Now this, I forgot to actually create a table. So this is looking, if you look at the code here, what it does, it goes to fetch some data, right? So it fetches from the table, and it makes an assumption about what the fields are. So you can see the fields that are assumed here. First name, last name, birth date. And that's why you don't see anything here. But if I had data in my table, then it would show those. And then here, the edit button, this is all coded in React here. So you choose stuff here, right? So birth date is quite nice, actually. It's a very nice input. I'm a bit envious that people get that in React and not in Saltcorn. Maybe I need to do something about that. I'm not always very happy with Flatpicker, which is our default date editor. This is very nice because you can just enter your birth date. Cool. And your email, blah, blah, blah. And then you can save that, which is not going to work because I haven't hooked it up to the table, which is linked. But this is just to demonstrate, this is, both reading from a database table and writing from a database table, and using, pretty simple syntax here. Just use fetch rows with the table name, the query, whatever that is, and then you get the rows here, and then you can now loop over the rows here. Okay, so see, this is my evil plan, was to turn all of you no coders into coders, and if that's what Saltcorn does, I think that's great, right? So you just have a environment that you can work with, or you can just stick with no code. Okay, that's probably what I will say about the React views. I think it's gonna be probably another week before we will have this released as a prototype. So I'm just trying to rearrange my windows, but that's not really working. Oh, pop-out chat, there we go. Right. So it's going to be a little bit of time, but then please do give it a go. I think, and especially we need to work on this bit with connecting it to the AI, to the Copilot, so the Copilot can write code. So that is probably all I will say about React for now. Now the second bit I wanted to show you today that we've been working on before I start answering questions was... So Jose, thanks for showing up. You know what? Your questions have disappeared actually, which is a bit of a shame. Maybe I remember them. I think I remember them. That's all right. No need to type them out again. It's tabulator and log. Okay. Great. Sorry, I was just fiddling with my window here. So I will have a pop-out chat so I don't look at myself. Just give me a second here to rearrange things. Okay, second thing I've been working on, and this is genuinely me, is the Copilot. So we have two Copilots, one for users. We saw that last week, and it sort of seems to work. But what I've been working a lot on is the Saltcorn Copilot, the bit that helps you to build stuff. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, here we go. So we have new skills, right? So it's all the same interface, but the number of skills down here is just going to grow. And so this is where I kind of invented a little trick here. I'm not laying claim to being the first person to invent this, but I didn't read about it, and it's a neat idea. So the idea is that as these skills, they're called tools, they grow larger, then you get a lot of different options. So the way I've split this up is that the generation is done in a two-step process with the AI. So now there's a first step which which sort of guesses at what the user sort of vaguely wants to do. So for instance, it identifies that the user wants to generate a workflow, generate some tables, or generate a page. And then it asks some vague questions, but not about the content. It doesn't actually build the page. It just says, okay, the user wants to build a page. The page should be called this. And maybe here's some, something about, a little bit about what this page that we need to know. And then what the Copilot does is it goes back to itself, to the code that I'm writing, sort of the agent code, so to speak. And it gets all of the instructions and the one tool for building a page with all the context. So for pages there isn't so much context, but with views there is. And actually I need to make I'm not done here. I need to make better use of that and show it what all the tables are and what all the fields are and what all the possible field views is, and give a lot of information so that on the next step where the AI is generating, it's only using one tool, which is, specific to the request, and then it's filling in, then it's actually generating the content. So the new stuff that I built since we last talk. Thanks for the question, Roderick. We'll get to that in a second. The new features here are to generate a page and to generate views. And here, so generate page, let's talk about that in the beginning. So that has two modes, and this is determined by this first step. And the two modes are whether it is a marketing page, sort of a page that emphasizes more sort of look and layout, or whether it is a sort of an application page, which might embed some views from your application. Roderick, your question, are the user and Saltcorn Copilot view types available on 1.1.3 or higher? It's actually not. It comes from the module, so you have to install the module to get the Copilot. I always do this. So in order to get the Copilot, you have to have the Copilot module. And I guess that doesn't have any. This is my Copilot module. It looks like this because it's local. It's linked to. It doesn't come from the store, but for you, if you install it, it will look. It won't have this bit. It'll just say installed in here. And if you install the Copilot module, you also need the large language model. Now it will sort of jump to installing that as well. But the Copilot is the one that will give you the Copilot functionality. Now, I guess the question is, which version does it work on? If you can run this on 1.0, then you don't get these chat features, and you get the old stuff that I did about a year ago. To get the new stuff, I think you just need any release with workflows. I think you just need like 1.1.1 or something. So yes, 1.1.3 should be fine. 1.1.2 should also be fine. More questions. Roderick, I'm only getting the... Roderick, you're only getting the database design Copilot and action builder Copilot. That's probably because you are on 1.0. Try on at least 1.1.1, something like that. 1.1.1 or 2. But there's no reason to be, if you're on this development release, just go to like 1.1.3. By the way, announcement, don't upgrade yet to the 1.1.4 alphas. I think they're okay. And I think I think I'll talk about that in a second, because that's the third thing I've been working on, and it is very, very important. But it was very disruptive, and was a little bit worried, which is why I labeled these more recent releases as alphas. So anyways, if you want a recent version that works, just do 1.1.3. Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Where am I? Okay. Copilot. Okay. So I was talking about how. Let's generate some pages. Generate a page, a landing page for a brand of pens called Super Pen. Is filled with magnesium dye, which I'm just making stuff up, is very bright, even in the dark. All right, let's see what happens. Who knows? I may have broken it all. Seems okay. Greg, thanks for coming. I will maybe just talk briefly about your question. Okay, so here you can see what I talked about. So this needs to be much nicer, right? I didn't. This doesn't. I'm going to do something different. Okay, we're still working on this. Here, this is basically showing the raw responses from the AI. So this is the first step that I talked about, where it's saying like it's deciding that it needs to generate a page, and it is getting some very preliminary information. So it gets the title of the page, the description, the role, and then this page type, which is either marketing page or application page. Then, depending on which of those two it gets, it asks it to generate the pages differently. So this is the main difference between a marketing page and an application page. For a marketing page, it's asking the AI to generate HTML, and this is interesting. All sorts of good stuff here. Ooh, I'm not sure how this will go. So I didn't usually have this. Well, let's see what happens. So for a marketing page, it's just telling the AI to generate HTML. Now let's see if this. I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't work. Okay, it built a page. Let's go to the page. Oh, I guess that's okay. Look, it's not. If you asked it to be pretty and gave it more details, it probably would, be different. It's also possible there's a difference between the HTML. Here, I don't know why these are so narrow. Anyways, I guess this is an okay, very simple marketing page. I mean, the idea is, you're still meant to go in and change it, right? So I can still go and edit this. Huh. Interesting. There's nothing there. It's interesting. So it's not showing up in the builder. I don't know why that is. So this is converted, this HTML here is converted to the Saltcorn page structure, but for some reason this is not loading in the builder. The idea is that you're able to go in and edit it. Let's do... Okay, building a page is very nice, but for me, the kind of holy grail of copilots with Saltcorn is to generate views. I mean, look, that's where you spend most of your time, and then that's that is the core of Saltcorn, right? You have tables, and then you have views onto those tables. And so I just started doing the views. I started yesterday, I think, and it kind of works for one type of view. So for the moment, it can generate list views only. Oh, by the way, Roderick, You asked about this. You said you couldn't find. I'm just wondering, maybe I haven't done a release of the Copilot module for a while. Maybe I'll do like an intermediate release, even though some of these generators aren't sort of done. It's possible that I haven't released this for a long time. I would have thought that this would. Let me see when the last release is. Okay, so there hasn't been a release since I started working on this page and the view generation. So you can't have this because I haven't released this on GitHub, on NPM. You can clone it on GitHub, but I wouldn't recommend that. So I will make a release at some point. Maybe I'll just finish up some of these basic issues. Let's see the generate view. So we only do lists. View of, I think there's a persons table here. Is that right? Let's just get some idea here of what they've got. Persons. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we just got name and table, the name and age fields with a delete button. Okay, it's generating. So again, we get the raw sort of structure here. Press apply to actually build the view. Go to the view. There we go. Name and age fields and a delete button. It's good. It works. And this one, I know it works here. You can then configure the view and you can actually edit it. So I think there's, in many ways, I started the list because that was the easiest. It's just a linear list of columns here and there are relatively few options. Actually, I only enabled field, action, and view link. They're kind of the important ones. But it wasn't a lot of work to get this working. I think it was a couple of hours. So, and I was kind of done about an hour before this office hours started. And I was thinking, should I start this show? And I think I did a little bit of work, but look, it is more complicated. It's to some extent the show is like the page, right? So it has the free structure. So there is a generator for free structure, right? If we do an application page describing cheese in the Middle Ages. So now if I do this, you'll see that it is hopefully generating. Yeah, so this is doing an application page. And then in the second run with the LLM, what we're asking for is not HTML, but it's this structure, which is this is what Saltcorn views look like under the hood. It's like a JSON structure that has bunch of stuff here, and that's easier for us to then turn into a page that can be edited, right? So let's build this. So interesting, I didn't know anything about cheese in the Middle Ages before. And now, so it does, because we don't really have images. We could do something with images where we generate them. I guess now OpenAI has this GPT-4o that can generate images. That would be pretty cool, actually, to make it generate the images. But for the moment, they're replaced by placeholders. And crucially, you can edit this, right? So I can go in here and I can edit this. And all of this stuff is all editable. And now I can edit some details here, right? So I can, if I didn't want this to be an H1, I can set it to an H2. So the idea is I can edit this. And so that's the ideal workflow, and it seems to work. And it worked for the list as well. So the idea is you generate something with the AI, and then you can go in and edit it and use those as examples and stuff. Okay, I guess that's it for the Copilot. I will make another release promise very soon, even though these aren't totally done, but at least they give you a starting point for pages, views. For the views, I'll try and do either show or edit or something like that, but again with a limited set of fields, so it just helps you get started a little bit. Okay, so last thing that I want to talk about is something that I've been working on a lot over the last week. I started last Friday and I finished last night at 11 p.m. I don't really have anything to show you. What do I have to show you? I can show you some commits. That's boring. I'm just going to describe it instead. Look, if you just Google for transactional isolation, you can. This is the foundation of databases, right? This is a key feature of databases, is that they allow you to do atomic changes to your data, right? So you don't get a partial change. So let me put this in concrete terms. Previously, when you installed a pack, which you did here, add another pack, right? I did this a couple of weeks ago. This was what drove this change and why I've been working on this, because I saw that this was just terrible. So previously, when you installed a pack and something failed, right? Maybe concretely what failed was I was installing a pack that had a bunch of AI functionality, and therefore it had a field of the vector type. This was for a RAG type application, where you translate between text and vectors. And so, you needed to have the vector module. And the vector module cannot be just installed like any other Saltcorn module. It needs, you need to go into the database and enable it as an extension. And we can't do that because you need super user privileges to do that in PostgreSQL. And so it failed, right? So installing my pack failed, right? And that's fine. That's not a problem. But what happened was that it failed while building a table. And then it had installed half the pack. So I had there were three tables in this pack. I had one table that was full. I had one table that had half the fields that were needed. And then there was one table that just existed without any fields, right? And it just... And one table also had some views on it and another one didn't. So it's just you get these partial, when something fails, then you're left in this partial state. And I'm sure people who have been doing Saltcorn have seen this before. Another example, when creating a field, if something goes wrong while I'm creating a field, like here, at the end while writing it, sometimes you get, I can't remember which one is you get, we got ahead in this example. But sometimes there is no line here, so Saltcorn doesn't know about it, but it exists in the underlying database, right? Or it's the other way around. It doesn't exist. No, it was the other way around. So it existed in the database, but there was no line here, no entry, right? And this is, this is bad, right? So, and it just breaks everything, and it's just terrible all around. And the other thing I don't know how many of you follow UK news, but we've had this sort of scandal with the post office here, where actually people were sent to jail because of a bug, right, in a computer code. And this was about people who ran small post offices. There was missing money, and then they were accused of having stolen it. And it's like a big scandal in the UK. And actually, when you go in and read, try and read more technically about it, what it was a failure of transactional isolation. So there were no transactions. And when you learn about transactions, this is really when you need it in sort of banking systems, where you're withdrawing from one account and you're putting into another account, right? And you want that to be atomic. So you don't want to withdraw from one account, but then something breaks and then the system goes down and then you've just lost that money, or the other way around, right? generated money. You do not want that, right? You want things to be atomic. So if you're moving money from one account to another account, then it's sort of like all or nothing, right? Either it works or it doesn't. And if there's a failure halfway through, then we roll back, right? That's what it's called. So you start a transaction in the database, then you start doing multiple statements, and then if there's a failure, then you roll back. So you undo all of the error, and then you show that error message to the user. And then there's no like partial state or anything. So, we didn't really have that. It was a goal for 1.2. Oh, by the way, we had a question about roadmaps. Yeah, I see that question about roadmaps. I'll get to that in a second. And there was, then we'd done so much with workflows, and I wanted people to have workflows. And then I was thinking, okay, we'll just like tidy up now and finish up 1.2, and then we'll do the transactional isolation later. But then I got so annoyed by these couple of errors that we had, and I thought I realized how to do it, and then I got it all wrong, and I only really figured it out last night, and then I finished it. And like that's the last bit of detail. So anyways, it's done. There should now be transactional isolation on on all of the administrative actions, that at least as far as I can tell. There may be a bug somewhere that may be missing, but things that you do, like create a table, create a field, all of these actions here. For instance, this one, delete table views and triggers. You don't want to, like, again here, first it deletes the views, then it deletes the triggers, then it deletes the table. You don't want it a case where it will fail to delete the table, but then it's actually deleted the triggers and the views, right? Now that's atomic. So it will delete first the triggers, the views, then if deleting the table is usually what fails, because you have some inbound foreign key or something like that, and that's the database doesn't like that. And then if that fails, then your views and your triggers will sort of be restored. I mean, that transaction will not be committed. That's the kind of thing that we're doing, right? So operations on tables, those were the first ones that I did. Creating views, that's not... Some of these aren't really in transactions because they're single database statements, but then you don't really need it. There's no point in having a transaction with a single database statement. The point is that like you have multiple database operations, and they group together in a transaction. But the table operations are often not, right? So for instance, when you create a table, two things happen. First of all, the database, the table is created in the database, and then an entry in the metadata table, so that Saltcorn knows about it, is created. So that is, that's two database operations, and if one of them fails, they should both fail, and you should roll back. So that's now transactional. And then, the settings don't matter so much, but stuff like installing packs should now be transactional. Some exceptions are, I think, backups I didn't do. I think maybe the pack within the backup is transactional. I can't remember, but the backup I felt there was potentially too big of a transaction, but we might experiment. We have some larger systems now. We might experiment with that at a later point. And I think backup was the only one that I left. But there may be places that I forgot, so just do report that. So that's for the administrative actions. And again, for the data, I was actually going to leave it until later, but then I figured out a way of doing it automatically for everything in a certain sense. You just put boxes around it, and you just had to wrap the code in some wrappers. So it became very easy to do it. And so now, again, any edit view, if you run an edit view, what happens here? What is this? This is something that I have. And especially if you have these edits that are in edit. So we have these edit in edit views. Oh, that doesn't seem to work very well. Maybe I deleted it. I thought I had another edit in edit. But if you have these yeah, you can have like a form, and then inside that there can be subforms. And again here, if you know any of the sub rows fail to save, then everything will be rolled back. So it happens at the edit level as well. If you're editing data, also like if you're editing data just here, right? You can that's transactional. And of course, if it's just a single update, it doesn't matter so much. But often saving a row has implications. So there'll be a trigger that needs to run, or there'll be other fields that need to be recalculated, other stored fields that need to be updated on other tables. And that now happens within one transaction. So there you go. Okay, so there may be some disruption because it felt like digging into the innards a little bit and rearranging things. So that's why I labeled these releases the alpha release. But I think after a couple of iterations, and it was broken. But after a couple of attempts, I think the most important problems are fixed, and what's left now is maybe if there's a bug, it's a small one that's crept up. I'll probably go back to releasing a beta. I've got it now running on some larger systems, and so that is all looking much better, and this should be really important for long-term stability, right? That your edits are like all or nothing. Should be a huge win for reliability in the future. Okay, I will now stop talking about my own stuff and start answering some questions. I didn't mean to talk for so long, but it happens. Okay, let me first do some of the easy ones. Exposing transactions to be used in. Okay, so Roderick, just to get that one, do you guys plan to allow for exposing transactions to be used in complex run.js actions, for example? Allowing for commits or rollbacks would be great. Okay, so if you have a run.js action, it will run within a transaction. So that is already the case. If you have some button and you run an action, and we should test this, but I'm pretty sure this is the case. That if you have some button and that button launches a run.js code and that does multiple database operations, that will be running now in a transaction. I might just test that and see if that's how true that really is. But I'm pretty sure that that's the case. And if it's not, it's just a small thing. Because it's very easy now to add these wrappers. I guess the deeper question here is, can you do your own sort of sub-transactions? The answer is no, not right now. I didn't actually really think about that. It's a pretty cool idea to be able to do a sub-transaction within run.js code. Interesting. Maybe we could do it. I need to think about that. I don't really know much about it. There's something with nested transactions, and it's not always so straightforward. So, yeah. If people have use cases for that, it could be interesting. Okay. Okay, let me go back to Christoph. Is there any roadmap or long-term vision of Saltcorn available publicly? No. At some point we had something called a roadmap, but I have not updated that for a very long time. Oh wow, it's not. Oh, I bet there's some permission, but I haven't looked at this for a very long time. There's stuff here. But in any case, that's wildly out of date. Okay, let me talk a little bit about the roadmap. I actually feel that I want to slow down a little bit and focus more on reliability, on polish, on UX, maybe revamping the UI design. If there's anyone here who's listening, who's a designer, do send in suggestions. People have done that. I know that some of those we did not implement, but others we did. And it sorely needs it. Especially like the focus should always be on what the user sees, and if anyone wants to comment on the stuff that the user sees, then I'd be very keen to hear that. But I do feel that now we've had workflows, that major feature is, I do want to slow down and not add another huge feature. The next big feature that I wanted to add was real-time collaboration. I'm talking about stuff now that is not in a module, right? If you need a module for something like interfacing with your favorite weather station or whatever, fine, we can do that, right? That can happen totally desynchronized from Saltcorn. In terms of the core facilities, what I do think that we're really lacking in terms of a big feature is real-time collaboration. And that may be the next sort of development cycle after 1.2. I don't think I'll do it for 1.2, so maybe for 1.4. But I do also want to slow down and focus on reliability and polish, essentially. And we need much more work on documentation, community, stuff like that. I keep on sort of in my head threatening to stop programming and focus more on sort of community, but also in reality marketing and sales. I don't know if that's going to happen. I keep on saying every 6 months or something that now I'm going to give up programming, but I just find it difficult. I'm probably not, but I do want. First of all, I do want to focus more on marketing and growing the community, and of course also serving our wonderful clients, some of whom are present. But I think just real-time collaboration. First of all, it's actually something that no, somebody did ask for it. Yeah, somebody did ask for it. So it would be cool to have it. But and maybe it's something that can be done in a way that's less disruptive than workflows and less just adding a couple of functionality. So yes, so the roadmap, basically, just to repeat, the roadmap is polish, UX, UI design, reliability, maybe scalability as well. I want to make it a little bit easier to have multiple nodes. You can sort of do it right now to have multiple application servers, but you need to do some manual work, and I think that is something we have to do something about, and I have plans for that. Okay, right, enough on that. I think that's it on what has been asked. Okay, let me do Greg, if you want to just maybe not reply on my comment, but if you can let me know if what I outlined, would that be helpful to build that, or is that off the mark? Does not really answer your question, or have you already tried that? So if you've already tried that, then I won't do it. But if you think that would be helpful to see that built, then I can build it now. There was another question about tabulator. Okay, so let's build a tabulator view. Let me go to the screen. Okay. Tabulator is something that is an alternative to list, and it sort of gives you something that's a list where you can edit values as well and has a lot of functionality. Let's build something. What did I have before? I had this person table. This is my big application that has all the mess I've been testing. Let's just build a new person. There's one already here, but let's create a new tabulator. Okay. Tabulator. Okay. So you have your fields here. It works like list in this screen, right? So you have your columns essentially here, and we can already start looking at the output. So the main difference from list is, well, it's more interactive. So I can sort by different fields. And I can also edit things, right? So now that is persisted, I guess. Can I find it if I... And now I lost it. Okay, let's just change this. That one we can get back. Right, so for reload, that's persisted, and I've edited the data, right, by clicking on it, essentially like this. Tabulator, by the way, is a JavaScript library. It's a nice library. It has a lot of possibilities, and we have a lot of those in Saltcorn. It's actually a huge plugin. The code for the tabulator Saltcorn interface is like way more than 1,000 lines of code. And itself, like tabulator, is huge, right? But it has a lot of functionality, so it's good. Okay, so you see some of that. So already here we saw here, without just looking at the columns, we have sorting, we can edit data and stuff like that. But there's a lot of possibilities here where we can do stuff here. Some of these I haven't even really explored. I still don't really know what this does. Maybe I can find out today. Should we see what happens if I do this? That seems to change the layout somehow imperceptibly. These fields seem to have been ordered. I don't even know what this is. Data stretch. Some of these are just options from from the library that I've ported over. I know somebody who uses this, so I don't really know. Okay, that doesn't really seem to change anything. All right, so okay, and there's also something here with responsive layout that again are just options that I've ported over. What can you do here? Pagination. You can set pages, right? So right here we don't have any pages, but now I have pages here. Pagination size. I can choose a style sheet, so there are different style sheets for this. And I can set the height. Content here. So I can group by. This is quite cool. So now I guess these are the people who are tall. I guess this is null, I guess, and these are the people. So tall is a field, a Boolean field, but it's more useful if you have some sort of category field or something like that. So here I have false and true, so they're grouped. I can set the labels as well. Tree field, that's even cooler. That's if you have like a self-recursive. Did I have like a manager field? Oh yeah, I do have a manager field. I don't know how much data will. So actually I can now set, this can now be recursive. Oops, where was it? There we go. So now, I guess none of these are actually, that's a bit of a shame. Can I quickly change that? So if now set, I guess this manager isn't, why is this not tree field? I don't know why this isn't showing as a tree. Probably meant to do something else. You'll have to experiment with this. Progressive loading. That's quite cool. If you have a lot of data, then it just comes one page at a time by Ajax. Very useful. So it'll only fetch the data that you need. Functionality. What else do we have? Oh yeah, here's a lot of stuff that I built. Okay, so you can have this sort of... Yeah, now you can choose which field. The user can choose which fields, and we actually have this none and all here. A lot of stuff here. Add row button. So now I can add a row. Right. Selectable. Now these are selected. I think this. Yeah, I think this is because of, do I still have this tree field? Yeah. I can't quite remember how that works, but yeah, this is better. So now I can just select some rows, and that gives you some possibilities. So for instance, if you have that on, I think there's something like if you download CSV, then you only get, if you have them selected, you only get the ones in, only get those 3 lines, is that right? Now you won't be able to see it, but I will. Except it's not opening. Yeah, that only gives me 3 lines. So that's one thing that selection gives you. but selectable also gives me... Okay, so one thing I have this, I can run an action on my selected rows, and yeah, so now I get a button, and then I guess print. I hope that doesn't make a PDF. I don't know what that does. I might have to see what this action is. I used to have a... Wait, there was one called log row, which just prints it out to the command line. Yeah, this doesn't appear to be ordered. I think it should be ordered. So now it's just printing it out to the command line here. Maybe that's because... Yeah, there you go. So now I see it here. It's not so good this isn't going back. And the other thing that's cool is this can actually be an edit view. So if I had an edit here, edit set age. Okay, this is... So now what I can do, if I in here in select actions, rows action, if I set that to an edit view instead of an actual action, what happens is I can set a field here. So this is just an underlying edit view and just has this one field. But now if let's see if this works. If now I want to set these two people who are 16. Oh. Okay, I want to set these two people. See if this works. There's some conditions when it works. Yeah, so then they become 17. So this is a way to do bulk edits. It's pretty cool. We needed that for something. So there you go. Those are some of the options in Tabulator. So alternative to list view. Now the other one you asked about is Tabulator. I guess I'm running out of time here, but it's okay. I'll just keep on talking. I lost my chat window. Okay, right. Okay, look, I'm gonna skip Tabulator pivot edit. It's actually quite interesting. It allows you to edit things by certain factors, but it's just more complicated. And to be honest, I can't remember how to use it. So let me get on to Greg's question. So Greg was asking, about the log. Okay, I'll do that quickly. Log. Okay, so you have this setting here called version history. And if you enable that, so I just, by disabling it, I deleted the version history, but now I've enabled it again. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. But now you have here the versions, right? So if I set this to 46, it doesn't update automatically. But now I have one version. I don't know why all of these are showing. Maybe there's some sort of field that's updating. I can't remember. But now I have the different versions here. So this is how you log on a table. The other thing you can do is okay, thanks. Multiple questions here. The other thing you can do for logging history is you can write your own, well, you can do multiple things here. You can do an event log. So what you can do here is settings here. So if I want to log, let's say, updates on a table. Let's say I want to log updates on the albums table. I don't think this has a save button. No. So now I have this event log. And now if I go to the albums table, and if I change one, now here you will have the update here event. And we did something where we could bring this event log in to be a normal table. Maybe we just use the SQL table. extension. So, but now here you have a log, right? So you see what has changed here. I hope that answers the question about logging. Why can't we change database field labels without changing the variable name? Yeah, this is something that, I don't know. Without changing the variable name. Yeah, actually that was meant to be an improvement. That now if you change the field label, the variable name does change. I didn't realize that broke for something. That broke something for someone. It used to be that you change the label, but then the variable name wouldn't change. But then it kind of became confusing because then you had a label that was unrelated to the variable name. So then I changed the variable name as well. I'll think about whether that's how bad that is. Okay, now let's do Greg's little application here. So I'm going to create new tables, one with lessons. And this will have, I'm just making some stuff up. And what is the key fact, right? Okay. I don't know. What should I do? Water. So this is like a school lesson, right? Water is mostly H2O. Air. You breathe air. Without air, not good. All right, there we go. So these are my lessons, very important lessons to learn. And now I'm gonna, what was it was like feedback, that was right. Now feedback. And feedback has, okay, so it has a couple of different things. It has a link to the lesson. Oh, by the way, there's a question about building mobile apps. That's actually a... Okay, I'll get to that in a second. Where am I? I have so many tables on this. Lessons. Ugh. Lessons. Okay, and feedback content. This is where you write like, this lesson was boring, this lesson was great. And I guess there was a user as well. Key to users. Okay, now. Okay, we've got these two tables. Now, key thing that I forgot to say. We did this. This is a massive improvement. Now, I used to, when I built a Saltcorn application, I used to spend hours just building these basic views. Now you just press a button and go like, create basic views. There we go. Now we've got an edit, a list, and a show. I'm going to do something where you get a few more options, like how many columns do you want in the edit and stuff like that. But this just helps a lot. And feedback, we're going to do the same. Create basic views. There we go. Okay, so what did I say? So Greg wants to, first of all, the lesson is kind of like our main table. And I list this. Okay, so in here, in this show on the lessons, I want the feed of the feedback. So the idea is, I should say this in the beginning, the idea is that, you know, the user can see their lesson and they can learn like this stuff. They can see on that lesson, they can see what feedback they previously gave. So let's do this. So feedback, we already have the show, but we could use the list, but I actually want to use a, what's the other one called, a feed. So let's create a feed. This will show the, what's this feedback? This will repeat the show. Okay. And now use view to create, edit feedback. And I said we'd do this embedded so it shows up at the bottom. Okay. Let's create some stuff here. Feedback content. Let's see what lesson. I knew this already. What a waste of time. And let's do another one. What about D2O? It exists. It's real. Just saying. Okay. Now we can do a feed. And I see this, right? Okay, let's adjust a couple of things. No, actually, let's just tie this up. Okay, so in the show, I'm going to drag in the view. And that will be feedback. That will be the feed on feedback. Okay. Okay, so let's tidy up a couple of things. First, I want to put in a header. And these should be the other way around. Okay. That's better. Now, now there's no point in entering this. So we can get rid of this, and also, you know, I want this to be a text area. And do a new feedback. Okay. Okay. Oh, we don't need this lesson either. And here, let's delete that. Now we can do something else here. Add field. Date. Oops. And we already have the key. Okay, then let's set this to, we can fix that date to now. So now whenever the user will write that, and where are we? Now I can, in this show, I can just make it a little bit nicer. Okay, so we'll say, okay, that's the date. Oh, why don't we do the relative, and this will be the, actually I want the join field. I was going to put like, this person wrote that at this time. Where's my join field? There. So I want my less user email, and instead of on, because we're going to have the relative date, so it'll be like 2 hours ago. Wrote space at the front and the beginning. Okay, let's see how we're doing. Okay, so that is because, okay. Now, what am I doing here? Okay, so that doesn't go to the right place. We'll fix that in a second. Okay, so it's not setting in this edit feedback. I want the user to be the logged in user. I don't know why the email isn't coming up. Let me see if that's actually stored. Yeah, the user is coming up. Okay. Okay, I can't. There's something gone wrong here. So I'm missing the email here, but we've got the date. And let's just also make all of this muted and small. Okay. Oh yeah, okay, so these are the ones that I added. So it's sorted in, okay, yes, we can change the order. What I wanted to change is where this goes. So I'm just going to do it the easy way by, let's see. Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Greg. What was I doing? Okay, I wanted to go to the same page. And then I know that for you, I have to set the date, so you can only see your own comments. So I'm just going to set this to a formula here. Okay, so what's the ID? The lesson ID is just lesson, right? Okay. This is fun. This is fun. Okay, great. So the order seems to be wildly inconsistent, but that's easy to change. You just set the order here. It's alphabetically sorted. So we just set it by date, and let's say I want the sending. Is that right? It must be. Oh, because this is null. Okay, now let's set it so I only see myself. A couple of different ways to do that. You can do it where you embed this. So you could set, what's it called, user? I think this will tell me. Yes, it's called user. Bummer. I shouldn't have called this user. Oh no, maybe it's okay. I don't know. It's always bad to call things user because that's also the variable used for the logged in user. Somebody should stop me. Let's try it though. Yes, I guess I see only myself. Okay, so next time you do this, let's just don't call. It's okay to call a date variable date. Don't call a user variable user, because that has potential to conflict, because it's very confusing now, right? This user is the field. This user is the logged in user. Okay, but we seem to have gotten away with it now because that's the way it works, so it's fine. Okay, so I mean, look, that's it, right? So you now have a lesson here, which is, you know, the key factor. Obviously, you'd have like many more resources and stuff, and now you have the feedback written just for this user. So I hope that's okay. Yes, alphabetically sorted comments. That was confusing. I hope that's okay. Let me see if there's. I am gonna log off now. I think that's okay. I think I've answered most of these questions. Look, if there's something else, just send me an email or ask on Discord, whatever, Twitter, or come for the next office hours. I'll try and do it again in 2 weeks, maybe in my morning. But thank you for showing up. Great to see all of you. Oh, yes, thank you, Jose. Yeah, let's do this. Saltcorn.com. Okay, so there isn't an office hour video, but there's a tutorial video. But it's like, it's very much about the installation. Here, this one. So you just go to the Saltcorn website. You go to the videos, and have a look at this. This is about the mobile builder, but this is not so much focused on building an application. It's more focused on getting your installer set up. Both, I think it covers. No, it does not cover iOS. I think it covers Android. I didn't. Christian Chico did this video. So if that's where you need help with, then you know, have a look at that. And if that's not enough, you know, just let us know. Any AI integrations on the card, lots of them. I would actually like to do this MCP. I know other people have been pushing me to do MCP integration, and that would be really cool. Yeah, I'm doing tons of AI for the moment. Have a look at the Copilot and see what you think about that. Okay, thank you so much, and have a good weekend, everyone.